Well, folks, we got some Switch 2 stuff to talk about today because some new FCC filings have come out and been more publicized, and we learned a few new things from it. Some of this stuff we went over back in the end of January thanks to some posters over at Reset Era, but now we have some actual looks at some of the documents and additional details we now know are true, including a use case for the top USB-C port on the Nintendo Switch 2. This is really exciting stuff. I got to give credit over to The Verge, who went over some of this stuff. So we're going to go over to that article in a moment. First, I want to remind you that, yes, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2. That's right. Go down to the top link in the description or in the pinned comment to enter to win a Nintendo Switch 2. We'll draw the winner before the system comes out. We don't know when the end date for the giveaway is going to be yet because we don't have the release date yet. Also, on top of that, hey, we are rocking some new merch around here. Nintendo Prime merch. We also have some Nintendo Byte podcast merch and stuff like that as well. We'll put a link down in the description for those interested in getting one of these sick t-shirts or sweatshirts or whatever. That's kind of what we're selling right now. All right, let's go ahead and dive into this because, bam, The Verge. We don't talk about The Verge very often except when they have really cool reports such as this. It says the Nintendo Switch 2 will have NFC and Wi-Fi 6. Big news there. FCC filing show, plus the new second USB-C port can be used for charging. Oh man, I know, right? Let's get into this. Nintendo Switch 2 is already official, but there's a lot we still don't know. Like, will Nintendo's new handheld support the NFC-equipped Amiibo figures that can wirelessly unlock content in games? Today, it seems like they will, because filings at the Federal Communication Commission, the FCC, reveal the console will support NFC. They even specify the RFID feature, which will be located on the right Joy-Con, just like in the original Switch. The Nintendo Switch 2 is apparently designated with the BEE001. The company's radio equipment test filings reveal where BEE is, Nintendo's designator for the Switch 2 family of products, with 001, the main console, 014, the right Joy-Con, and 012, the left Joy-Con. As you can see here are some of those filings and listings directly from the FCC report. You can even see some stuff for the micro SD card, relay box, AC adapter, headphones, yada yada. All right, Nintendo's followed this pattern for decades. DMG was the original Game Boy, DOL was the GameCube, RVL was the Wii, and HAC was the original Nintendo Switch, as just a few examples. You'll also be able to charge the Nintendo Switch 2 from either its bottom USB-C port or the new top USB-C port the filings reveal. This is actually something we didn't know 100% for sure. Kind of figured, but something new here. Nintendo's announcement tease confirmed the Switch would have an extra USB-C port on top, but I think this is the first real confirmation of charging from both, and that's what this is indicating here. Now, as we go down here, it says, cabling and setups were taken into consideration, the test data, yada, yada, and it says the EUT is equipped with 2 rechargeable USB ports, top and bottom. It doesn't get more black and white than that. Yes, folks, the top USB-C port can be used for charging. It is literally listed in the FCC filing. Does this mean it's the only thing it's used for? Well, of course it doesn't mean it's the only thing the USB-C port can be used for, but it obviously was a massive consideration because, hey, if you remember in tabletop mode, you really couldn't charge it without using an accessory that lifts your Switch off the table. Now you'll be able to charge it in tabletop mode, no problem. Is that all the USB-C port is for? Obviously, we don't know. The world of accessories might say otherwise, but it is nice to confirm that yes, top or bottom, you can charge your Nintendo Switch 2. All right, if you were hoping for faster Wi-Fi in your Switch 2, that's pretty likely as well. The filings show it will support Wi-Fi 6, which technically not the latest standards. There's like 6E and 7, but hey, Wi-Fi 6 is a huge step up. So it says networks with up to 80 megahertz of bandwidth, up from the Wi-Fi 5, 802.11ac on the original Switch. However, it doesn't seem to have Wi-Fi 7 or 6E, and it's only crossed the FCC with tests for 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, not the faster and shorter range 6 gigahertz band. So again, still not using the latest Wi-Fi stuff, which is a little bit disappointing, but for the most part, Wi-Fi 6 support is pretty much all you need for a device like Nintendo Switch 2, especially when used in your home. It would be nice if it supported 6 or 7, and maybe that ends up happening in a revision down the line. But look, Wi-Fi 6, all that matters to me is it's better than the Switch, right? So just in case you have any doubts, there might be some mystery Nintendo product instead of a Switch. diagrams at the FCC show it being tested with and without attached controllers and with and without a dock. So here you go, without a dock. Here you go, with a dock. So yeah, I mean, look, it's Switch 2. Let's not beat around the bush. Obviously, they don't like say Switch 2 in the filings, but come on, let's not be dumb. All right. As we get in here, it's unclear from these tests whether Nintendo Switch 2 has faster charging speed or more power when docked. Things that we think are true, but obviously can't confirm here. The original Switch shipped with an unusual adapter that charged up to 15 volts and 2.6 amps. FCC filings show the Switch 2 is still rated for a maximum of 15, but also mentioned the AC adapter that goes up to 20. Both or either of these could be USB-C PD, but we can't properly guess charging speeds in watts without knowing the full amperage and all that. So obviously this is like, yeah, okay. So it still takes some of the same voltage stuff in, but we're not really sure how that's going to convert and what's going to be used for charging, what's going to be used for power. We have some pretty good guesses based on the leaked images of the back of the dock, but even then we're not 100% sure what the actual Switch 2 is going to be taken in and using. So anyways, the point is these filings are very, very interesting to me. And they kind of just give us a slightly bit more information for Nintendo Switch 2. I think a lot of this stuff will be answered on April 2nd. Could I see Nintendo mentioning, hey, Switch 2 charges faster than Switch 1? Sure. Do I think they're going to tell us the exact amps it charges at and everything in between? Well, no, because Nintendo doesn't really dive into all of that tech-y kind of stuff when they're talking about this. They're not going to tell us what the power of the system is and the teraflops. Maybe NVIDIA does in a press release. That's up to them. They do talk about that stuff, but I don't think Nintendo's going to. They don't really get into all of this sort of stuff. They might not even mention Wi-Fi 6 as an example, but some of this stuff could get confirmed, like the charging on the top and bottom. And obviously, if that USB-C on the top is intended for anything else, be it accessories or this is what I hope, and maybe I'm going out on a limb here. I want external high-speed hard drive support, and with that USB-C on the top, when docked, you could get that. It's not supported on Switch, right? So I want to have like a big SSD, like 10 terabyte external drive through the USB-C, because there are a number of games that I really only want to play in docked mode anyways. But we'll see what happens. Plus, there's a lot of you that never take it out of the dock, so there's that as well. Anyways, you guys gotta let me know what you think about this filing. This isn't technically new because we knew about this all the way back in January, but we hadn't seen like exact photos and stuff like this. It wasn't shared in the Reset Era thread, and SEC filings are kind of a chore to go through. So I do appreciate this extra context, the news about the top USB-C, and all of that. Again, just very interesting stuff to talk about. We'll be live again tonight, per usual. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will catch you guys live tonight. We'll talk about this and a few other things going on out there. One thing I guess I can bring up, you know what? I think it's actually worth saying is Joseph Fares. He made a new video game called Split Fiction, and he was asked directly about it being a launch game for Switch 2. Here's what he had to say.
Is Split Fiction going to be a launch game for the Switch 2?
Ooh, you almost got me there, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, see, they tried to trip him up there. We're going to talk more about that tonight, but it does appear that Split Fiction's probably a launch game for Switch 2. I think that's really cool. But we'll talk more about that tonight and some other stuff on our live stream. Remember, it's a Q&A stream. Hope to see a bunch of you guys there. Otherwise, good luck on winning the Switch 2. Good luck on maybe getting some brand new merch. Mine just arrived today. I love it. And I'll catch you guys tonight.